Bang, bang,
Niner gang.
let's go.
Yes,
We
sir.
have officially punched our ticket to the Super Bowl in Vegas.
Yep, we go into the big game, the thing that they've been working for all season. They've been taking it game by game, week by week, all for one thing, though. We're finally there. We haven't achieved it yet. They still got to win it.
But we're there.
But we're there. We're going to the bowl.
This is the Can't Lose Show. I'm your host, Trent.
And it's your boy, Josh.
Man, we have a lot to talk about today, guys. Let me give you a quick little rundown what we're going to do. We're going to go over some season awards, official end of the year awards. It's not including playoffs, so kind of revert back a couple weeks, and we'll give you the awards there.
Somehow we forgot about it.
Yeah, I don't. Hey, we were probably talking about something else, obviously. But then we're looking back at our picks from last week from the Chiefs-Ravens game. Of course, we're diving into the 49ers-Lions game, giving a quick little preview of Super Bowl, okay? And then we're going to talk some Pro Bowl games, and we'll be out of the way, okay? So for the next 30 minutes to an hour, enjoy our voices, and let's get right into it. End of the year awards, Josh. We can't just give them the end of the year awards. We got to look back on what we picked at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it week 1 or prior to week 1, and then we did it week 10. So week 1, just give me your awards and your order, your list. No explanation. I just want to hear them real quick.
So my week 1 awards, before the season started, I had as my MVP Aaron Rodgers, sleeper Lamar Jackson. Okay. Offensive Player of the Year, Justin Jefferson, Jay Jettis.
Got hurt.
Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa.
Had a slow year.
Coach of the Year, Dan Campbell. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Zay Flowers. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jalen Carter. And Comeback Player of the Year, Calvin Ridley.
I remember when you picked that. Okay. Week 1 for me, MVP I had Patrick Mahomes. Defensive Player of the Year, or Offensive Player of the Year, I had CMC. Defensive Player of the Year, I had Bosa / TJ Watt. Coach of the Year, I had Robert Saleh. Rookie of the Year, offense-wise, CJ Stroud. Defense Rookie of the Year, Christian Gonzalez. And Comeback Player of the Year, Jimmy G. Okay. We know some of those awards did not happen. Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. Some were arguable in there, but we revisited in week 10. So let me hear your week 10.
All right. So my week 10, I stuck with my MVP, Lamar Jackson. Offensive Player of the Year, CMC. Defensive Player of the Year, switched it up to your backup, TJ Watt. My Coach of the Year, stuck with it, Dan Campbell. Offensive Rookie of the Year, CJ Stroud. Defensive Rookie of the Year, still Jalen Carter. And Comeback Player of the Year, if I have him as my MVP, I got to have him as my comeback if he's eligible. Lamar Jackson.
He is eligible, which is crazy. My midseason at week 10 was MVP Lamar Jackson. Offensive Player of the Year, CMC. Defensive Player of the Year, I stayed with TJ Watt. That was my backup. Coach of the Year, I switched over to Dan Campbell. Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, CJ Stroud stayed the same. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I had to switch it up to Devin Witherspoon due to injury. And Comeback Player of the Year, I put Lamar Jackson for your reason exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So week 1, week 10, that was a long time ago. We're now back at week 18. In a sense, for these awards, since playoffs do not count. Let's hear your list now and throw some reasoning behind some of these because they need to be argued. I'm out with the old and with the new.
All right, yeah, get that. Oh, before we do that, let's just say, I don't know about, you should go look at your season predictions for your Super Bowl favorites.
Oh, let me pull
I
that
had 49ers versus the Chiefs.
Week 1, Super Bowl. I had Jets versus 49ers or Bengals.
Oh.
But I had the 49ers in there, obviously.
Both teams, their guys got hurt,
But you really had the Chiefs.
Damn. I said Chiefs / Bills.
You had revenge tour on your mind, huh?
Yes, sir. It's been on my mind.
All right, let's get back into those awards because we got to argue some of these because some of these are not clear-cut for some reason, even though statistics say they are. So we're going to leave MVP for the very last one because that one is the juiciest one. And you guys know exactly where we're going with this if you're 49er faithful. Offensive Player of the Year, who do you got?
CMC. No need to argue this one.
That one, out. He blew everyone out of the water.
Blew everyone out of the water.
Tyreek was treading, but he left it.
He led the league in rushing the entire season. I mean,
week for week.
Yeah, up there in touchdowns the whole time. I mean, he was just Mr. Consistent all season long. There's some guys in there that picked it up at the end. CeeDee Lamb, obviously Tyreek, A.J. Brown had their times, but CMC was the man all season long.
Yes, sir. Defense player of the year. This one's going to bring some little conversation. Who do you have?
I don't think it should be a conversation, man. T.J. Watt. He led the league in sacks, I think, by maybe 1.5 sacks. Yeah. He had 4 forced fumbles, and 3 of them he recovered. Dude, he was on a tear. He's been on a tear all season long. He's a run stopper, too. Don't get that twisted. He's a dog. That's my defensive player of the year.
Okay, my defensive player of the year is Max Crosby. It's one I'd have to argue his case for.
Relentless player.
Relentless, for sure. Never came off the field. But, his best case for his defense player of the year is his availability.
Yeah.
He played damn near every snap for the Raiders, which is insane. He never had a bad game. He was always putting up some sort of stats, whether that was the sacks or just tackles or forced fumbles. He didn't have the pick TJ Watt had to add to his stats, which honestly, a pick coming from a DN,
or as many forced fumbles.
Yeah. So I know there's some gaps in that, right? But if you just kind of put on the tape and just watch him play after play, there's no need to skip a play to get to his next play. Where every other candidate for this award this year, there's a couple plays in between that you had to,
That is fair. He definitely was on the field and available more than any of these guys, for sure.
And his defense was on the field a lot this year because their offense was out of whack.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my pick.
And that defense picked it up at the end of the season.
They finished the best in the league under their new head coach, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Let's go comeback player of the year. This one, okay, guys, I'm gonna say it. I know DeMar Hamlin's gonna win this, okay? But I'm not picking DeMar Hamlin in this case just because an inspirational thing that he was able to come back from. Truly, honestly, if that was anyone I knew or myself in those shoes, I wouldn't be able to put football cleats back on after absolutely, he lost his life on the field, was brought back to life, which awesome thing that he was able to do.
Yeah,
but
insane.
One thing I see the comeback player of the year as is actually playing and stuff, and I'm not discrediting him coming back because that's still an incredible journey. But this guy, Joe Flacco, for me, came back from not playing at all and took the league by storm once he was
off the couch,
exactly. And he proved he still had some juice still left in him. I know he had the downfall in playoffs that last week, but guess what? Playoffs aren't included in this award, and he took a team that was supposed to go nowhere after so many goddamn injuries, and they were going into the playoffs as one of the hottest teams in the NFL, honestly.
Yeah.
So I have Joe Flacco. Who do you have?
I like that pick a lot. I think I just maybe wanted to argue a little bit here. I think this man played more games, and Geno Smith won it last year, and everyone was saying the same kind of thing. What did he come back from? He wasn't hurt. Well, he came back from the bench. He came back from being written off.
Mm-hmm.
I think Baker.
He didn't right back, bro.
Yeah, he ain't right back though. And I think Baker Mayfield was in a very, very similar situation. He was written off. He was
traded
away. No one thought that he was really ever gonna find a home. And I mean, dude, they've shown the clips over and over again of him playing defensive scout lineman last season for the Panthers, and now
that is such a Panthers thing to do.
Led his team to winning the division, and I mean, made it to the playoffs.
He won a game in the playoffs.
Won a game. Yep, that's my comeback player of the year.
I like that one. I know you said you wanted to argue a little bit. I can't even discredit that because I'm trying to find an arguing point for Joe Flacco over Baker Mayfield. I would gladly give him the award or Joe Flacco because you're exactly right. He did exactly what Geno Smith did, and he took his team, the Bucs, who were not supposed to make the playoffs, honestly. I know their division's but he took them to the playoffs, and that's including weeks 1 through 18, getting your team to the playoffs, and he did just that.
Yep.
And did it throwing efficiently. Mike Evans wasn't supposed to continue his 1,000 yards receiving receptions, and he continued his streak. It's like nothing fell off from Mr. GOAT Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield, which is crazy to think about. Statistics-wise, Baker Mayfield had himself a game, or had himself a year. I'm not saying he's no Tom Brady. I'm just saying there was supposed to be a huge drop-off, and there wasn't.
I mean, there was a drop-off in their wins for sure. There was a drop-off for sure.
They still got to the playoffs.
But Baker Mayfield did his thing, and I think
they got as far as Tom Brady did in his last season with them.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. I'm just saying.
That was crazy.
Okay. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Oh, no. Sorry, we'll go Coach of the Year. For me, I have DeMeco Ryans. Who do you have?
I got Dan Campbell, man. I mean, the things that he did. I know DeMeco's right there, too. But Dan Campbell, that culture that he brought to the team. And, I mean, man, dude, just the way he was calling it all season. You know, I know the fourth downs might have ended up biting him in the ass, and we'll get to that. But his aggressive play calling, the culture he brought, and, I mean, the wins. They had, a 12-win season, was it? I mean, big time out of him. And that's my Coach of the Year pick.
Okay, I'm going to argue this one then. DeMeco Ryans. We could argue the culture he brought, just like you said for the Lions and Dan Campbell. The wins he brought. They won their division. They've been in a deep hole of water. No one cared for the Texans in the NFL for a very long time since J.J. Watt was lighting up the stats in his first couple years.
A few years ago, they were in the AFC Championship with Deshaun Watson, so we can't completely say that.
Okay,
but you're right.
They dropped off from there.
Yeah, for a few years, they haven't been that.
And they were down bad. And he brought a very young team. He was able to coach them up, make adjustments when they needed it, and he took them to the playoffs and winning their division, which is insane. I know Dan Campbell did the similar things with the Lions. They were down bad. Dan Campbell himself is lucky the playoffs are not included in this award, because after this past week, you'd be like, that's your Coach of the Year?
Well, I mean, DeMeco also put up like 34 on him in the playoffs, and they lost 34-10. So I know.
Yeah,
it's
you're
like
right.
Either way, you know.
Yeah, I think I'm more pulling for DeMeco in the situation, or the fact that he came from the Niners.
I know, I like that too. I'm not even really arguing with the fact that DeMeco. I'm just more arguing for Dan Campbell. I think it could go either way. You could go with the Browns coach, Stefanski or whatever. You could go with a lot of guys. I just like.
You can even go with Kyle Shanahan if you wanted to.
I can't believe he hasn't won one yet.
I know. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think this is unanimous, and I don't think another person should even be considered. Sorry, Puka. I know you did great things, but C.J. Stroud took the league by storm.
Yeah.
And that's part of why Houston finished in first.
Also leading his team to the playoffs right there with DeMeco. I mean, a young offense, a young defense. He was up there. He only threw 5 interceptions, I want to say. I mean, just very efficient. And, I mean, he made some crazy plays, some big-time throws. Puka, I know you said that no one's even close. Puka is definitely very close. But the fact that he's also a quarterback and he led his team to the playoffs, got to give it to C.J. Stroud.
Yeah. Defensive Rookie of the Year. I believe we have the same one. So you could let them know what we have.
I mean, just like you had C.J. Stroud from the start, I had Jalen Carter from the start. I never went away from it. He balled all season long. I mean, he was just looking like Javon Hargrave out there. You know, they didn't miss a beat on that D-line with Jalen Carter stepping in there for Pro Bowler. I don't know if he's an All-Pro last season. Yeah, Hargrave.
He's All-Pro.
I mean, either way, whatever he did last season, he balled, helped his team get to the Super Bowl, and Jalen Carter didn't miss a beat. That's my Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, there's no arguing against that one. There was guys that were holding it, but then they got injured, missed some time, and he kind of he ran away with that one. I was going to say walk, but that's not very convincing. All right, the last one is Assistant Coach of the Year. Honestly,
I think this one's unanimous.
And he's going to have a head coaching job maybe by the end of this episode, and it has to be Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDonald
from Baltimore Ravens, their D coordinator.
I mean, what they did that they had the Triple Crown in defense or whatever, like the first time it's ever been done, or maybe done since like the 90s or something. It was some crazy stat where they had the Triple Crown. Hasn't been done in a long time, maybe not ever. Their defense was rolling all season. They had Geno Stone. I know no one's ever heard of that guy, and he was
balling,
leading the league in picks. I mean, Mike McDonald got to be unanimous assistant coach of the year.
Yeah, and there's no arguing that right now. So, y'all, what you've been waiting for?
The MVP.
Like Josh said, the juiciest one, MVP. You're gonna get outlets saying Lamar Jackson. You're gonna get them saying CMC. You're gonna get still trying to find a way to argue Tyreek Hill. You're gonna get them arguing anyone but Brock Purdy. But that slander, that hate, stops here because we both have Brock Purdy winning the MVP. Weeks 1 through 18, Brock Purdy has won the MVP.
Yep.
And if you include playoffs, that would cement it even more. But we're not including his playoff stuff, so don't think we're gonna say, oh, that comeback should cement him as MVP because that's wrong. That's not in the season. So our regular season. So we have Brock Purdy. Why do you have Brock Purdy though?
I mean, one, he led his team to the number 1 seed in the NFC. He balled all season, played efficient football, completely turned our offense around and made it look like a whole new offense, a pass-happy offense. I mean, it just looked different with Brock Purdy at the helm.
Hell yeah.
And then you look at the guy who they're going to say is the front runner, Lamar Jackson. I know we had him as our MVP. Had a hell of a season, but when you look at the stats, I mean, Purdy is top 5 and number 1 in every passing stat. Lamar Jackson is top 5 in 2 of those stats. And then you got him, yes, Purdy threw 11 interceptions to Lamar Jackson's, I think, 7 interceptions. I mean, 11 interceptions is still top 10.
Yeah.
And then you got Purdy, number 1 in average yards, number 1 in QBR, number 3 in touchdowns.
Right there. Number 1 in QBR. Last 5 years, what has every quarterback that's led the league in QBR walked away with? The MVP trophy. And it wasn't even close. There wasn't big old conversations why someone else should win MVP. That little stat right there is a huge stat. And it literally cements an MVP's case. And right there is what I have extremely highlighted on my paper is QBR. But keep going with your points because you're just making it even a better case for Purdy.
I mean, they're going to say that Purdy, he can't do what Lamar Jackson does with his legs, whatever. I mean, we saw it in the playoffs. We've seen it before. But even with that, Brock Purdy's 31 passing touchdowns to Lamar's 29 total touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Still had more touchdowns with him. Just throwing the ball. I don't even know how many he had rushing. Probably only a couple. Mm-hmm. Maybe not that many. But, I mean, dude, the stats don't lie. And yes, I mean, stats aren't everything. But when they're this alarming and this clear and he's in the top 5 of every single passer stat, I mean, come on, man.
And then they're going to say, well, Brock Purdy was carried by the 49ers. Okay, so what was Lamar Jackson not carried by? The number 1 defense in the NFL. You just hit that Mike McDonald had the Triple Crown defense, right? And that's why he's going to get a head coaching job somewhere else this year. So defense, they've had a better defense than the 49ers. 49ers defense did ball. I will say that. But the Ravens technically had a better defense. He has Mark Andrews, who did go down, but then didn't miss a beat with Isaiah Likely.
Looked even better with Isaiah Likely.
I think their offense did look better. Okay.
And you got Gus Edwards,
running
back,
Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham.
I mean, even Rashad Bateman, a first rounder, Nelson Aguilar, they have a ton of studs.
Am I saying their weapons are better than the 49ers? Am I arguing that Kittle wasn't as good or Deebo Samuel and Ayuk didn't matter as much as the Ravens? No, I think both were just surrounded by superstars this year. Yeah. They got a great team around them. So the argument for Purdy being carried by the 49ers versus Lamar Jackson not being carried by the Ravens, that's just a dumb argument. You look on paper, they both were just surrounded. And that's why both teams made a deep playoff run. I mean, you're not going to make a deep playoff run with 1 or 2 good guys. You're going to have a great team.
Yeah.
And that's what they did.
Not even to mention that. I mean, the whole season they were making the argument that Lamar Jackson didn't have the same studs. I'm sure we said it too, but when you really look back at it, he does. And at the end of the season, once they lose in the playoffs, what is everyone saying? they might have just missed their window with the best roster that Lamar Jackson has ever had since he's been in the NFL.
Yep.
So make it make sense, please. Don't pick and choose when you want to say that someone is doing it by themselves or getting carried. Purdy is delivering the ball on time with efficiency to the open guys.
With people in his face.
People in his face, on the run. Just everything. He's doing it all.
Downfield.
He's making it happen.
There's so many arguments for Purdy to win MVP, and I just don't understand how people don't see that. But that was our MVP, or that was our awards in total, guys. I know I was jumping the gun a little bit ago, but we will have weeks 1, 10, and now on a post just labeled out for you guys to visualize while you're watching if you want. So just go check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X, whatever it's called now, and YouTube, obviously, where you're watching this, or Spotify. All at Can't Lose Show. I mean, keep it simple, right? Thank you all for your support during that. But we got some things to talk about after championship weekend now. 2 huge games, obviously, sending 2 teams into the Super Bowl. Let's talk AFC first, since it happened first. You had the Chiefs heading into Baltimore. And to recap last week, I had Travis Kelce as my dog picked, and I was looking forward to the matchup between Chiefs D-line versus Ravens D-line. And I know your dog was, who was it again?
Patrick Mahomes.
And who was your matchup?
The head-to-head quarterback matchup, Mahomes versus Lamar.
Okay, so we know the Chiefs won, okay? But how did we get there, and how did our dogs perform? My dog is an absolute dog. He couldn't have a better week. 11 receptions.
At a better time.
11 catches. With Taylor Swift in the stands. Yes, I have to bring up Taylor Swift, right? Because she was there. But 11 receptions and 116 yards.
How many times did he get in the zone? Once? Twice?
1 touchdown.
1 touchdown.
I will stamp dog on that any day of the week on an AFC Championship week.
Very
Your dog.
simple. My dog, Patrick Mahomes. Come on. I'll stamp it too. He didn't have the 300-yard mark that we like to see in our dog performance from the quarterbacks. But 30 for 39, 76%, leading his team to the Super Bowl once again when nobody except
a lot of people counted them out.
Except me counted them out. I'll stamp that. It's all about winning once you get into these games.
Yeah. Mahomes did it again.
Oh, man. Mahomes did it again, and I'm stamping that.
So that leads you right into your matchup. Your matchup, obviously, you just went over Patrick Mahomes' stats. What was Lamar Jackson's? And who technically won this matchup?
We know Mahomes won the matchup. Lamar did not play his best game. 20 of 37 yards, completions. He had, 1 touchdown to 1 interception.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so just not his best game. That's not what you want to see out of your guy, your leader in the playoffs. But it happens sometimes when you play a guy like Mahomes and a team like that with all the experience. It's just how it goes.
Yeah, they drain you, and that's exactly where I was at with my D-line conversation. The Chiefs D-line had 1 more sack on the day, 3 sacks. The team had 4 sacks total. The Ravens only had 2 sacks on the day.
What about pressures? Because that Chiefs D-line seems like they were getting to Lamar.
Damn, you just took my next point out of it. But that's good. You're on it, right? This is literally what I said. The Chiefs D-line played a full 4 quarters of pressuring Lamar, where the Ravens didn't turn on the switch till the second half. And that proved to be the biggest difference. Because once they did shut down the Chiefs offense the whole second half. But you can't let Patrick Mahomes have 2 free quarters of football by not pressuring him.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest difference in this game. And we're going to get into the rest of the game. Obviously, those were just our matchups and dogs. But, like what we were saying, the Chiefs, they came out, they stormed. Like, they deferred the ball. So the Ravens started with it. They go up 4 and out, or 3 and out, get the ball, drive it down their throat, and score 7-0 just like that. Yeah. The momentum is now completely on KC's side. Completely. And then the Ravens get the ball back, and they kind of get the crowd back into it with a touchdown. 7-7. But
it did not come as easy as that Chiefs drive.
No.
They had the 4th down play where, Lamar broke loose, and It wasn't an easy drive for the
Mm-hmm.
Ravens.
And then they like I wanted to say something, but I brain farted in a sense of the word. But the Ravens just cooled down completely in the second quarter. Chiefs took advantage of that, scoring not only a touchdown but also a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the score at 17-7 going into half. Third quarter, absolute showdown.
Don't forget about, was that Zay Flowers play in the first half or second half?
I don't know. My mind was so crazy from the night game, but that play, let's bring it up right now. I don't know if I agree with the rule of it being a touchback. Or wait, no, Zay Flowers is
No, it wasn't
the taunting, right?
The taunting and the
fumble.
He fumbled. It was two on the same drive. I mean, big time out of him. That
was huge.
That's a rookie mistake. I mean, that's the difference between, like we were saying earlier, the experience of these playing in these big games and playing meaningful football, and then you got the Ravens who haven't been in these big games as much. They haven't, had as much experience in these games. I mean, I don't know if Lamar's ever made it to the AFC Championship, and I mean, it showed. Zay Flowers, man, I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's textbook right there. You get up, you flex over the guy. Like, that's one of the things they're looking for is flexing over a guy.
He could have flexed the opposite way and he had been fine.
Yeah, and then you throw the ball, flex on him, stand over him. I think it was soft. I like when they let him play, but that's exactly what they're looking for, and you just can't do that.
Not in big time situations. Because that changes the game completely. That score happens. That's 14-17 within a field goal. You have the best kicker in the game.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even then though, once he reaches for the end zone on that same drive, I mean, if you're gonna reach for it,
you better get in.
Yeah, you better score. And obviously, L'Jarius Sneed made a hell of a play punching that ball out. But
and that third quarter became a defensive battle where no one scored at all in the third quarter.
Second
half, really, yeah, because the Ravens didn't score till like 2 minutes left to go with a field goal, and it was 10-17. And then the Chiefs just held on, and that's literally all she wrote on that game, because the Chiefs won 17-10, and that was pretty much it, right? It was like 2 minutes to go when they got that field goal, and nothing happened at the end of the game. Just played some defense, and clock ran out. And then there was a little bit of a game break. And then it was 49ers Lions. So let's get into the 49ers segment. Best segment on all of YouTube. Niners!
Let's go.
Bang, bang, Niner gang. But that's not how it started. We're shooting it straight. The Lions came into Santa Clara and punched us in our goddamn throats.
Yeah.
And 4 plays into the game, they were in the end zone. Didn't even seem like they got touched, to be honest with you. Our defense was like, oh, you're already in the end zone. And then we go out on offense. We don't do shit, or not enough to get into the end zone, get a field goal. Guess what? Lions get the ball back, and they said, we punched you in the throat the last drive. Guess what? We're going to start stepping on your neck. 14-0, just like that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, our defense was just playing too soft in the run game and in the zone. The zone was like, we were playing so far off. It was like we were playing prevent defense or something, keeping everything underneath. I know those guys are fast. I know they're explosive. But damn, we were just playing too soft. Like, we were scared of the big plays.
Yeah, their game plan against that defense was perfect. Perfect. You couldn't dial it up any better. But luckily, we have Mr. CMC on our side, and he comes back, and he puts some little bit of fresh air to the faithful, a little bit of confidence back in, because I know we were all stressing. And if you said you weren't, come on, you had a little bit of like, fuck, is this like really going to go this way?
Hey,
a little bit.
I was faithful, but I was still stressing, still
exactly.
Scared because it's not easy to come back from a deficit that we were in.
No. So CMC gets in the end zone 14-7, but then Jahmyr Gibbs is like, nah, let's just stab him again.
Yeah.
Easy drive. It seemed like that was the whole first half, honestly. Jahmyr Gibbs gets in the end zone, and then that's followed by a field goal going into half, right into half.
What did I text you at half, though? This comeback is about to be legendary.
I was gonna screw up the way you worded that, but thank you for getting it correctly. But 24/7 going into half. You text me, I text my dad. We're all like, damn. And then I was on a couple lives because obviously a couple of faithfuls go live at halftime, even if they're at the game, and everyone's like, "Fire Steve Wilkes. He doesn't fit the scheme. We need to do this. The game's over. Like we just got to start prepping for next year."
Shanahan hasn't proven himself to come back from these
Yeah,
games.
it's gonna be it has to be the largest comeback victory in the NFC Championship game in the NFL history. But I kept commenting the same thing. We're gonna get the ball, touchdown. We're gonna stop them 3-and-out, touchdown, 21-24. We're right back in it.
Yep.
It didn't exactly happen like that, and which kind of stressed me out a little more because I said touchdown is a must coming out of halftime. And I think that was all universal. Like, I'm not saying I'm the one crediting with the only one saying that, but we go down, we get a field goal, and I'm like, fuck, that just ruined our chance. Like, this is going to be a big mountain to climb, for sure.
That was frustrating. That felt like way bigger than it was.
Yeah, but 24-10, that's what it's at. And then the Lions go down, they're driving, and they want to be greedy. They were in field goal range, 4th and 2. Field goal range. Points in a championship game are everything. Everything. Guess what? Our defense, I'm just picturing it right now. They stomp them with a huge stop. Huge stop. We get the ball back. You want to go over that drive a little bit?
I mean, you go over. I can't remember every drive. Like, I was so like locked in on it. I can't even. It's all a blur to me.
All right. So,
jog my memory.
So, man, I went too fast on my paper. And then a huge drive by Ayuk.
Oh yeah,
huge drive.
The catch 4, 5. What is it? 5, 6. The catch. I think it's got to go down as one of the Niners. They have the catch. They have the catch too.
Should have been SportsCenter top 10, number one. But huge catch. We get downfield, and then a couple plays later, or was it the next play? It was a couple plays. Ayuk gets found in the end zone.
Yeah, we got sacked on the next play.
Yeah,
for sure.
24-17 after Ayuk's touchdown and huge drive.
Hey, and
shout out Ayuk's catch.
Shout out though that throw to Ayuk in the end zone, hitting it in the window. Purdy, man, just making plays when he needs to most.
Yep.
The moment is never too big. And what do we tell Jace from Up Your Score podcast? He said that elite quarterbacks, they play good throughout 4 quarters. I said elite quarterbacks play through the fire and they come out on top. And that's what Purdy did.
Yep. And then that throw, you guys are going to be hating. Oh, that throw to Ayuk downfield was a bad throw. Rewatch it just real quick because slow-mo it, Ayuk had a hand on it at first. What do we say to receivers? If you get a hand, you're supposed to catch it, right?
I don't know if he touched it, but...
He did touch it. But anyways, he touched it, and then it hit the guy in the face, and then Ayuk stayed on it and caught it. So he did exactly what we tell receivers. If you touch it, you better catch it. He did just that. Huge catch. Should be SportsCenter top 10. That takes us to 24-17 after Ayuk's catch in the end zone. Okay? We kick off the ball. Very next play. Gibson. Veteran.
Most underrated safety in the entire league. Does not get talked about enough.
Yes, he does not. He comes downfield flying. And thanks to Jared Goff or the running back at the time, one went the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
Created the wrong timing. The handoff bobbled, blown up by that hit from Gibson, and Eric Armstead falls on it. What a way to get the momentum all the way back. Because just a few plays later, CMC up the middle, 24-24. And just like that, how we all predicted this game was going to go, we're tied.
Yeah.
New ball game, fresh start with all the momentum on the 49ers side.
What a third quarter for the 49ers.
For real. Oh, that was so nice to see. We're right back in this, okay? Lions get the ball back after that. After we just took all the momentum in the stadium, they go 3-0. Our defense is balling now.
Our defense figured it out. Something happened. Bosa he said a whole lot of stuff in the locker room. It wasn't a bunch of rah-rah like everyone was saying. But he just told him, take away the first read, take away this, take away that, do our job, and we're going to go out there and win this game. And that's exactly what they did in the second half. They adjusted.
And he didn't just speak. He spoke his words into meaningful plays. He put the team on his back, finishing the night with 2 sacks.
Yeah.
We haven't seen a multi-sack game from him in a while, which was nice to see.
That was huge.
And why he's the highest paid defensive player in the league, because that reason. Put the team on his back. And then the 49ers, like I said, after that 3-and-out, we go downfield, and I thought we were going to score again. I think a penalty halted our drive, and we settled for a field goal. But even with the field goal, that's 27-24. Awesome. We have the lead. Lions, they drive downfield, and they get greedy again. 4th and 3. Our defense took every option away. We disguised our zone coverage so well on that play. They thought it was man, but no, it was zone. So it took every little route that would have beat man, those mesh routes. They would have beat man any day of the week. But we were in zone. We took everything away. Jared Goff had to get the ball out because our D-line was coming down.
Not that soft zone either.
They were.
Yeah.
Our D-line was coming down, and Jared Goff had to get the ball away. Incomplete pass. Huge stop. When they could have got more points on the board, tied the game up, honestly. Could have been... Where were we at? It could have been 27-27, but no, say 27-24.
They still had to make the field goal.
Yeah. Then CMC drives downfield with some breakout runs that drive, right? And then Elijah Mitchell gets the call in. I understand CMC's probably should have scored on that drive, but why not give the love to other people?
CMC called for the play.
Yeah.
He went like this. I need one. And I mean, you saw it. He landed on his neck, his head. It looked a little scary.
Yeah.
They were massaging his neck and everything, but hey, he's not on the injury report, so that's great news.
Elijah Mitchell scores. We're in the end zone, 34-24, and just like that, time's ticking. Not much time's left, and Lions drive downfield, and they do score. I will say that, but they score with not much time left, 56 seconds left, and they go for the onside. Onsides aren't successful in the NFL, and it's very hard to recover. 49ers get the ball back. We have to run because technically their timeouts could hold, but we know how it ends. Yeah. 34-31, Niners are on their way to the Super Bowl.
Yep, and I mean, man, that's why you stay faithful. They call us the faithful for a reason. I know it was scary. I know it was tough. I know everyone's seen the records and the stats of the Shanahan era and the comebacks. But what is the definition of faith? It is the complete and utter trust and confidence in something with or without proof. You just got to believe, man. And that's what faith is. That's why we're called the faithful.
Yep.
Let's stay faithful throughout the rest of this season, this postseason. Let's get this Super Bowl fucking W.
Hell yeah. Before we get completely out of this game, I want to highlight Brock Purdy's second half performance. I know I talked about the game recap in a sense that I broke down kind of our major scoring drives.
The whole game, damn.
I know.
I just wanted to do that.
I just wanted to talk about it. I was like, fuck it. Why not? Like, it's a huge game. But Brock Purdy, he shit the bed in the first half. I will say that. And I was like, whoa.
But it wasn't just Brock Purdy.
No, it was the whole team.
It was everyone.
It was the whole team. And it's very hard for a quarterback to go into halftime and completely turn his game around. And he did just that.
Yeah.
And more. He started on the ground. It started on the ground. He played in the air. Like, what a second half performance for Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I mean, the people that he was making miss, getting loose on the ground, making those plays to Juice Check, to Juwan Jennings. He had a couple to Juice Check on big plays. I mean, dude, he was on fire.
Yeah. And then defense adjustment at halftime. You brought it up. Bosa talked in the locker room. But I'm going to give some credit to Steve Wilkes. Everyone on those lives were hating, saying he needs to get out of town. He doesn't fit the scheme. And he's done it time and time again this season. We come out at halftime, and we don't give up much. Mm-hmm. And that's been a 49er thing, like making those halftime adjustments. But you still got to do it. And he does it pretty damn well.
Yeah.
And only allowing a touchdown when... I mean, I know the touchdown happened, but we held them scoreless pretty much the whole second half.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I mean, big time. You got it. And then if we're gonna shout out guys, we also got to shout out the leader of the defense, Fred Warner, bro. Played his ass off. I want to say 9 solo tackles. I mean, he had the pass deflection. He probably had a tackle for loss or 2 down there in the run game once we started figuring that out. Just like all season.
The way he plays through and doesn't just scrape over the top, he goes through to make tackles. It's so nice to see.
It's because he's so fast. I mean, he's a DB that's the size of a linebacker and
that plays with the grit of a D lineman. Like, yeah. I don't know how to put it. He's
just a dog and a leader and the quarterback of that defense. And without him, we wouldn't be where we're at.
Yep. Man, that was a fucking great game.
Scary game.
But that leads us into what the Chiefs earned, what the 49ers earned? The Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here. And we're not going to get too in-depth this week because it's not this weekend. So if y'all would please just come back next week, listen to what we got to say, because we're going to spend a lot of time on that game since it's the last thing in the NFL this year. But it is revenge tour from 2019. They stole the Super Bowl from us. We were so goddamn close. Jimmy G overthrows Sanders, and it hasn't sit well with me. It didn't sit well with Kittle on the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "We will be back. We will be back. We will be back with vengeance," and we're back.
And with vengeance against the team that did it to us. What a story!
Yeah,
the script writers did their thing this season.
They were thinking 3 years out, bro. Ooh. But this weekend, it's Pro Bowl. We would have had a lot of players representing. I think the most in the NFL by far. The number one Pro Bowl vote getter, Brock Purdy, would have been there. But we got a bigger bowl on our hands. But the Pro Bowl's still happening. Who do you think is going to win? Do you think it's going to be fun? Do you think it's going to be entertaining? You paying attention to it?
Is it AFC versus NFC still?
Yeah.
The flag game or whatever. Hey, I said, it's just a flag game. There were some big hits. Tyreek Hill got laid the fuck out last year in the Pro Bowl. So, hey, maybe it could be fun to watch. Who knows? Do I care? No. Is it going to be on in the background while I'm hanging out with people, friends, and family? Probably.
Yeah, and I was just going to leave it at that, honestly. I think I'm looking forward to dodgeball more than the flag football game. And then the spectacular catch, I think that's a cool event.
I like the precision passing one, too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It would have been fun to see Purdy blow everyone out the water in that one.
Mm-hmm. I guess these events are cool. It's just, we're just not interested this year because we're not in it.
They're cool, but it's just not the same. I mean,
should be in Hawaii. It should be a real football game.
Yeah. The Pro Bowl hasn't been the same for a long time, probably since Sean Taylor laid out that punter. I mean, come on. It's just not the same. They got to figure out something to. I heard that we were talking about this with my family that they moved the Super Bowl back a week and the Pro Bowl up. It used to be at the end of the season, actually, but not enough people are watching. I mean, now people probably still aren't going to be watching that much because it's just not worth watching. They got to figure something out. The NBA's turned it around. They've had the whole thing where each quarter, if your team wins, there's money going to charity and stuff. So there's a little bit more reason there. And
baseball's always had the same reason, which is crazy to think, but the team that wins it, that team gets the home field advantage in World Series. Which, if your team's doing good, it's huge.
No way.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
So in baseball, why am I blanking the two divisions? National American. If the American League team wins it, they get game. I know they get Game 7 at their home. But if the National League wins it, they get Game 7 at home. So it's huge in a sense that if it goes down to that, which I think is crazy, but it adds incentive to want to play to win. If your team's on a hot streak, your team's making the playoffs.
Yeah. Wow.
But
that's actually crazy.
The NFL definitely needs to figure something out. But until then, you ready to close it out?
I'm ready.
Deuces.
Doses.
Bang, bang.
Niner gang.
We out.